So I made this video yesterday, but it didn't turn out exactly how I'd liked. It was pretty low quality. The top pound for pound list wasn't looking too good, just formatting wise. I don't think I talked enough about each fighter. Um, and I don't think I showed enough information for each fighter, on the slides. It was just kind of boring. It was just a blank screen. So yeah, I kind of just want to redo it with better formatting, better editing, and better content overall. And then also, I just wanted to shout out a couple more honorable mentions that I'll get to later in the video. So, yeah, without further ado, let's start with the first honorable mentions. So, these are kind of like the 16 to 21 guys, the best fighters outside of the pound for pound list. First, we're going to start with Rugrug, the ONE FC heavyweight champion. This guy's 7-1, really impressive fighter. Fighting out of Senegal. He just beat Anatoly Malikin. He also beat Marcus Buchecha, two both really good for at the time undefeated heavyweights themselves. Very solid fighter. He's been on a bit of a win streak. Super excited to see where he goes next. Now we have Shamid Khan Magomedov, the LFA welterweight champion. This guy's really impressive. He fought on Tough, didn't look great, but he was a little bit outsized on Tough. Now he's at his natural weight class. He just beat Vanilto Altunes, who was on Dana White's Contender Series. And then he also beat this guy called Alfonso Leyva, who's shit. But he just ran through him. He dropped him twice in like a minute, hit him with a body shot. Boom, bow. He was done. That's it. Shamid Khan Magomedov. Just also want to shout out LFA as an organization. Super fun. Always puts on good events. Now we have Adrian Bardozinski. This guy would have been like top 2, top 3 pound for pound. And then he got beaten by a bum, Mamed Khalidov. He got fucking armbarred by that guy, which is not a good look, but this guy's resume is pretty good. He cleared out the KSW welterweight division, and his loss was at middleweight. So, he is still a decent fighter. He'd probably be at the bottom of this list if I was to do a ranking. But yeah, that's Adrian Bardozinski. Now we have Jakub Kasuba. This guy's the PFL 2-time Europe lightweight champion. Really impressive fighter. Kind of Marab-esque in the way that he has super good cardio, super good wrestling, and just can outlast people. His most recent win's a 4th round TKO where he kind of got his ass beat in the first 2 rounds and then just shat on the guy. Super impressed by Jakub Kasuba. Super excited to see where he goes next. Now we have AJ McKee Jr., PFL fighter, just lost to Paul Hughes, but before then he was 22-1, with the only loss being Patricio Pitbull. Another really good fighter, another guy who has a ton of potential in the featherweight and lightweight divisions. And finally, Anatoly Malikin, former ONE FC triple champ, now just a double champ. Just lost to Rugrug in a pretty boring fight, but he is still a really good fighter. He is still a double champion. He is getting a little old. He's, I think, 37 now. So hopefully ONE FC doesn't kind of just ice him and doesn't have him fight only once a year. If they do, I say they just release him. Let him fight in the UFC. But yeah, that's Anatoly Malikin. Alright, so now we have some more honorable mentions. These are kind of just fighters to watch. People who I think could get into the list in the next coming years. So I'm just going to kind of rattle through them real quick. I'm not going to give too much backstory on each of the guys. But first we have Kareem Engizek fighting out of Turkey. He's the Octagon MMA welterweight champion. Adriano Moraes, Brazilian fighter, ONE FC bantamweight champion. Jakub Wicklaz, former KSW featherweight champion. He's now a free agent. Francis Ngannou, obviously you all know who that guy is. PFL fighter. He's not higher on the list just because of his lack of resume outside of the UFC. He only has 1 fight against Renan Ferreira. Now we have Fumi Nkuta, who is a flyweight champion from Cage Fury. He's super good. Bit of a decisionator, but very solid fighter. Richie Lewis, LFA lightweight champion. Another decisionator, but another very solid undefeated fighter. Magomed Rasul Gasanov is the middleweight champion in ACA. Another guy who really goes to decision most of his fights, but he's very solid on a long win streak. Another guy who's surging, has a ton of potential. Ramazan Kuramagomedov, another really boring guy, but he's 13-0. He just beat Jason Jackson. He's the Bellator, now PFL welterweight champion. Now we have Kubanichbek Abdisalam Ulu. Practice that name a ton. I think I got it down. He's 22-3. He's the Brave CF lightweight champion. He just beat Raul Tatu Rauli, who's 35-8, Georgian fighter. That was a bit of a controversial fight, which is why I also have Raul on this list. I thought he won that fight. And then finally, we have Nicolas Huende. He's the Brave CF flyweight champion. Super good guy, very talented fighter, tons of potential as well. So to start off, we have fighter 15, Mansour Kara. This man's 8-0, very solid fighter. Just going over his best recent wins. These are in order from most recent to least recent. I kind of cut it off at around 2020, just like as a rule of thumb. First off is Devin Dixon, 7-1-1. I saw this fight. It was very impressive from Mansour Kara. Completely ran through him. Now we have Hector Sainz, 7-1. Another solid fighter with a good record. And then lastly, Sam Kilmer. He's the current Fury UFC welterweight champion. Yes, his record didn't look very good when Mansour beat him. But since then, he's on a 3-fight win streak against pretty solid guys himself. He just beat Szymon Smoczewski, who's a promising fighter in his own right. Mansour Kara is the Fury FC lightweight champion right now. And he's got 7 out of 8 wins by finish, 6 of those being by submission. So he's really, really dominant on the ground. Super good wrestling, super good ground and pound, and super good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Super excited to see where this guy goes. He's a little raw, not the most experienced of fighters, but tons of potential. Very solid guy. Fighter number 14 is Fabricio de Andrade, 10-2 fighter. His best recent wins. His most recent one was over Juan Il Quan. Beat him in like a minute. Then he also beat John Lineker, who's 35-9. Really solid fighter. John Lineker was actually on my top 100 fighters of all time list, so that should kind of just show you how good he is. And then lastly, we have Lee Kai-Wen, another fighter with not the best record. But Lee Kai-Wen's good, man. He made it to the finals of Road to UFC. He's pretty solid. And Fabricio de Andrade ran through him. So going on to his accomplishments, he's the ONE FC Bantamweight champion. He's got 1 title defense. And out of his 10 wins, 8 of them are by finish, which is really, really good for a bantamweight. You know, this guy's got super good power, especially as a 135er. Very impressive fighter. Hopefully one has him fight more. I think he only fought once last year. He only fought once so far this year, which is reasonable because it's only January. But yeah, you know, Fabricio de Andrade, hopefully we see more of him. Fighter number 13 is Paul Big News Hughes. This guy's so good. Really, really impressive fighter. He's got a ton of really good wins. AJ McKee Jr., Bobby King, Jordan Vucenic, Jan Quayhagens, and Morgan Charrier. So the 3 most notable of those are definitely AJ McKee, Jordan Vucenic, and Morgan Charrier. AJ McKee being one of the best fighters outside of the UFC. And then Jordan Vucenic and Morgan Charrier are both in the UFC right now, doing decently. Vucenic did just lose, but he lost to Guram, so there's no shame in that. And then Charrier's on a 1-fight win streak. So yeah, 2 pretty decent wins. And then on to his accomplishments. This guy's the Cage Warriors featherweight champion. He was also the interim featherweight champion, then he unified the belts. And then another accomplishment that I didn't list but still deserves mentioning is the fact that this guy took Usman to a really tight decision. I thought he drew with him. I thought he might have even won. Like, it was a super close fight. Super impressive showing from the guy. Tons of potential. Definitely deserving of being on this list. All right, now we got Shamil Musayev. I mean, if you look at this guy, you look at his gyno, he's probably on some sort of steroids. But yeah, still super good fighter. Best recent wins. Knocked out Magomed Umlatov, 17-0 at the time. Knocked out Logan Storley, 15-2. Former interim Bellator welterweight champion. Murad Ramazanov, former ONE Championship fighter. He beat him twice when he was 12-0 and 12-1. So yeah, this guy took his O and then took it again. This guy's fucking legit. And then Alexei Kachenko. Don't really know who this guy is, but he's got a good record, so I put him on the list. And then this guy's main accomplishment, his only real accomplishment, but what put him on the list, is that this guy's the welterweight champion for PFL. He won the tournament, and he won $1 million. So yeah, this guy's super impressive fighter. Tons of potential. Especially in the welterweight division. He matches up really well against most of the guys in the UFC even. So yeah, Shamil Musayev. Now, rounding out the first 5 on the list is Akbar Abdullayev. This guy's 12-0, every single win by finish, and he's got 3 really good, really recent wins. He beat Tang Kai by 4th round knockout, just made him gas out, super impressive win. He also beat Halil Amir and Aaron Kanyarte, both who were 10-0, took their zeros. Neither guys looked great since then, but he did beat 2 undefeated guys, which deserves mentioning. So yeah, this guy all wins by finish, 1FC featherweight champion, super good resume, kind of looking like 1FC's Kyrgyzstani Ilya Topuria, just because of his age, his finishing ability, and the fact that they're both featherweights. Yeah, super high on Akbar Abdullayev. Fighter number 10 is Phil DeFries. This guy's one of those certified unks, but he's got that dad strength. He's super old, but he's super good, super strong, doing pretty well. We got Augusto Sakai as his most recent win. Didn't look great there. Kind of just held him against the cage. But yeah, he still beat him. He beat Darko Stozic when he was 16-4 and 21-6. He beat Simon Bajor, 24-9. Former UFC fighter Todd Duffy. Phil DeFries has actually lost to Todd Duffy early in his career, so he kind of avenged that loss. And then finally, Tomaz Narkun, 18-3. So yeah, this guy's on the list just because of his 11 defenses as the KSW heavyweight champion. Not against the best names, yes, but yeah, 11 defenses is really impressive. But yeah, this is a pound-for-pound list, and this guy would not stack up too well against the guys ahead of him. So yeah, that's why he's number 10. Fighter number 9 is Patricio Pitbull Freire. 36-7 is his record. And his best recent wins are over Jeremy Kennedy, Kleber Koke Herbst, don't really know if that's the right pronunciation, Adam Borich, and AJ McKee Jr. He's got a lot of other really good wins, but not recently. So those are the 4 that kind of jump out here. His main accomplishments is he's the Bellator double champion. He was Bellator lightweight champion 2 times, and then Bellator featherweight champion as well. I believe that was twice as well because he avenged his loss to AJ McKee. Super good fighter, but yeah, he's kind of getting older. He did just lose twice to Chihiro Suzuki and Sergio Pettis, which is why he's only number 9. But yeah, he's still pretty decent, and he's definitely deserving of being on this list. Alright, fighter number 8 is Kyoji Horiguchi. This guy's another guy who's on the older side, doesn't have the most amazing wins recently, but he's still got a bunch of solid wins. Nizaki Zulu, 16-6-1. Sergio Pettis avenged that loss when he was 23-6. Makoto Shinryu, 16-1-1. And then Hiromasa Ogikubu, who's 25-6-2. So yeah, this guy's accomplishment is that he's the Ryzen FC flyweight champion with 1 defense. That defense was over Nizaki Zulu. Yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi, super good fighter, kind of getting older, but yeah, still deserving of being on this list. Fighter number 7 is Saladin Parnasse. He's 20-2, got a ton of really good wins. This guy's the double champion in KSW, lightweight and featherweight. He tried to move up to welterweight. He did lose that, but fighting at a 25-pound weight disadvantage, it's completely understandable that he would lose. So just going off his best wins, not the best names, Wilson Varela, Valerio Murcia, Robert Ruchala, Daniel Rutkowski, and Daniel Torres. Daniel Torres is the only one that's somewhat well known because he fought in the PFL once. Then he popped for roids. Yeah, that's Saladin Parnasse. Super good fighter, tons of potential. Fighter number 6 is Edouard Vartanian. This guy's 26-4, 33 years old. Very good fighter. He doesn't have the most big name wins, but everyone he fought has a really good record. Alexander Grazin, 25-4-1. Artem Reznikov, 24-6. Yusuf Rezov, 19-2. Elaine Ilunga, 13-5. Raimundo Batista, 14-2. So this guy's not a champion over anything right now, but he has a super good level of competition, and he does have a 9-fight win streak. So yeah, super impressive fighter. This guy should be in the UFC, man. He was supposed to be on Contender Series, but they didn't pay him enough. And, I respect him for chasing the bag. So hopefully they shell out some money because this guy deserves it. So the next fighter we have is Patchy Mix. This guy's 20-1, the current Bellator Bantamweight champion. He was also the former interim Bellator Bantamweight champion. He beat Magomedov twice. Oh, and he was 19-2 and 20-3. He also beat Sergio Pettis, Ralphion Stotts, and Kyoji Horiguchi. This guy's resume is insane. All of those guys are UFC level. Two of them were in the UFC. So yeah, he's super impressive. He's looked pretty much unbeatable. Yes, he was given a pretty close fight by Magomedov, but he did still win. And he'd also previously beaten him by guillotine choke. So yeah, this guy's definitely one of the best bantamweights outside of the UFC, and one of the best pound for pound fighters outside of the UFC. Now we have Losine Kaida. This guy's 16-1, and the only loss is by fluke injury. This guy's the two-time Octagon MMA lightweight champion and the two-time Octagon MMA featherweight champion. And he's got a ton of really good wins. Ronald Paradiser, 13-7, 21-8. Yes, Paradiser doesn't have the best record, but as you can see from those records, he was on an 8-fight win streak the second time that Losine Kaida beat him. So that's super impressive. He also beat Mateusz Legierski, 12-1, Predrag Bogdanovic, 16-1, Egi Sardari, 17-4, Nico Samsonidze, 10-2, and then the former champion Ivan Buchinger, 39-7. Buchinger, his record is not the best, but he's a really good fighter, especially in his prime. So yeah, Losine Kaida, another fighter who's super active. All of those wins are in the past 2 years. So he's been really, really impressive recently, and I'm super excited to see where he goes as well, especially because he's so young. He's only like 27 or 28. So yeah, tons of potential. Fighter number 3 is Johnny Eblen. Johnny Eblen's 16-0. He's got wins over Fabian Edwards, 12-2, 13-3, beat him twice. Impa Kasanganay, former PFL light heavyweight champion, 15-3. Anatoly Tokov, really good record, 31-3. He dethroned the champion, Gegard Mousasi, who was 49-7-2 at the time. And then he also beat John Salter, who's a pretty seasoned vet, and John Salter was 18-5 at the time. So this guy is the Bellator MMA middleweight champion with 2 defenses. And then when that belt stopped being a thing, he became the PFL Superfights middleweight champion and defended that belt against Fabian Edwards. Now, fighter number 2 is Usman Nurmagomedov. This guy is 19-0, really good fighter. He just beat Paul Hughes last weekend. Really close fight. Like I said, not sure Usman Nurmagomedov won it, but it's on his record. He also beat Alexander Shabley 24-3, just kind of shut him out. He submitted Benson Henderson in the first round. Really impressive win, especially because Henderson is a former UFC champion. And then he also beat Patricky Pitbull, who's a former Bellator lightweight champion. So this guy's got 3 defenses under his belt as well. So he's pretty dominant in Bellator. And yeah, this guy's one of the best lightweights in the world, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters outside of the UFC without a shadow of a doubt. And now that brings us to number 1, Vadim Nemkov. Vadim Nemkov is 19-2. He's got wins over Tim Johnson. Not the most impressive, but he just ran through and made him look like a bum. Bruno Capoloza, former PFL heavyweight champion. Yoel Romero, one of the best fighters to never win the belt in the UFC. Corey Anderson, UFC contender, moved to Bellator, beat him. Julius Angelikis, 10-1 fighter. Phil Davis, very solid Bellator light heavyweight. And then Ryan Bader, the former Bellator light heavyweight and heavyweight champion. So this guy's got 4 defenses under his belt, which is why he's above Usman. He's just got more title defenses and more very good wins. Very impressive fighter. Looked super good recently, and now he's a free agent. So the UFC might pick him up. I really think they should. So this is your men's pound-for-pound top 15 fighters outside of the UFC. I just styled it like the UFC list with Vadim Nemkov up top, followed by Usman, Johnny Eblin, Losine Kita, and Patchy Mix. Thank you so much for watching. Because you made it this long, I'd like to shout out Ratavius Thrasher. This was one of Manshare Kara's wins. I saw this guy's Tapology page. Pretty great. Everything from the nickname to the pro record to the photo. We're just kind of in a bar. Great fighter. Love to see him fight soon. Take the UFC by storm, Next Khabib. I'm calling it right now. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching again. Please remember to like and subscribe. Catch you in the next video.